a lot of people ask me who inspired you in your life. And I think all women's inspired me. I mean, my mom, my girlfriends, my sister inspired me to write this book. With this book, if I can, change their life or at least motivate and inspire to achieve their dreams and goals.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nuske. I am your host. I'm also the luckiest person in the world to be able to host this show and spend time with incredibly talented people. And also, thank you very much for your warm and wonderful feedback. It's making all of the difference knowing that the show is making a difference for you. Now, on today's call, I'm with Stephen Howard and Adriana Fuentes-Diaz. And we're going to be talking about a whole host of things, but primarily Adriana and Stephen have co-authored a book called Strong Women Speak on Leadership, Success and Living Well. So with all that being said, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Pleasure.
It's my pleasure to have you here. Now, we're obviously going to take a deep dive into your books because this is the third in a trilogy, if I'm correct. But before we do any of that, I really like to spend a bit of time, having spent time with you on the show before, Stephen. I know a little bit about you, but I think it's important if we could do a refresher and share with the audience what you're all about and how much authorship you've done in the past. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself?
Well, not at all, Rick. Thanks. I'm now the proud publisher and author of, you might say, 22 and a half books. I've published 22 books on my own, and now I've co-authored this book with Adriana. So my books are all nonfiction. I grew up in the United States, but I lived in Singapore for 21 years. I lived in Australia, lived in Victoria for 12 years before moving back. Before moving back to the United States about 8 years ago. So my area is on leadership, helping people become better leaders, and that's what most of my books are on. And that's why Adriana and I joined forces to complete her trilogy that she started only a year ago.
Wow, that's incredibly fast-paced work that you're doing, Adriana. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about yourself with the audience.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I'm born in Mexico City, and then when I was 6, I moved to Venezuela with my family. And then for the political and economical situation, I decided to move back to Mexico City again 8 years ago. I studied communication and I did some degree in public relations. So I have more than 50 years of experience in marketing, communication, and public relations, but working in different corporate and different industries. But I was not really happy and I can say that I was not really happy at the end of, or a few years ago working in corporate work. So this is when I decided to just do something different, change what I was doing and start writing the first book.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's a common theme that I hear is a lot of high-end corporates need to make that change, because I think it's a credit to you because it takes a lot of courage. There's risk involved, but we only live once. So I think it's a credit to you that you've decided to make that change. Now, given that Stephen's been on the call with us before, Adriana, I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about the things that you like to do when you're not doing anything. Do you have any hobbies? What do you do in your downtime?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I love dog lover, so I really like to rescue dogs. That's one of my other passions that I like to do. Exercise outdoor, spend some time with my teenager son. I spend some time with my friends, of course, writing, reading. So yes, of course, I have so many hobbies, and this is one of the reasons I decided to just change my life, because I didn't have, enough time to spend with my family, with my son, and also for my own hobbies and my own passion.
There's one thing you can't get more of, and it's time, isn't it? How much do you value time and relaxation nowadays, Adriana?
Wow. Now I really value, time and time that simple time to go out and do exercise outdoor, to, walk with my dog, to spend some time with my friends. I really value many more things now than before, for sure.
Absolutely. And I always like to unroll our lives a little bit, as Stephen knows. And I'd love to ask you, Adriana, when you were a child, do you remember one thing? What is the one fond memory that you have growing up as a child?
I have so many good memories. I mean, at that time that when I was living in Venezuela, I was living every weekend. We had the opportunity to go to the beach with a bunch of friends. And I remember a bunch of kids, we were like all day out, well, at the pool, at the ocean. So, I have a very good memories. Unfortunately, right now, I don't have the ocean very close to me, or I don't have, that opportunity. But it's good memories from my childhood.
Well, thank you for sharing. Have you always been a book lover? I know Stephen has, obviously.
Yeah, and that's funny because I always wanted to write a book, and I was just postponing this personal project. And then when I met Stephen, of course, he just told me how easy it's to write a book. And I can tell him, I don't think it's easy at all.
You talk porky pies, Stephen.
Yes, I did. But I'm her coach. I have to tell her it's easy.
Well, there's lots to cover in this call, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about your first experience writing a book with Stephen. This is obviously not your first. Can you tell us a little bit about the trilogy? What are the other two books? Just give us a brief overview of those.
The three of them, they are for strong women. I really wrote these books with two objectives. One, it's to inspire and motivate all women to achieve their goals and dreams in their life, as I did with this personal project. And second one, to help more each other. I talk about maybe in U.S. and in Canada and some other countries, women, they are more supportive to each other. But here in our Latin countries, not really much. We're so competitive. And I think we really need to help and support more each other. So that's the two objectives of these three books.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Now, I know that we've just had International Women's Day. What did you do on that day?
That day, we launched the third book, actually. And then, I have another interviews with some other media, and I really pamper myself then later at night because, I really feel that I'm a strong woman and that I needed to celebrate my day. So that's what I did.
Thank you very much for sharing. Now, where did the idea what was one of the standout messages that came to you through other people that you spoke to on the day? Is there anything particularly that stood out apart from the obvious?
No, just I think like I said, I mean, I really want to help different women around the world, and especially in our Latin countries, to be, help more each other, to be more to collaborate more with each other. That's what really need here. And this is what I wanted to do, or the idea about these books.
Thank you. Yes,
Rick, if I can interject there, this is actually interesting. One of the feedback that we're getting from people is that they are amazed that there are so many good quotations from women throughout history. All the quote books and everything are so male dominated, and people are saying, this current book has over 1,000 quotes in it. The first book I think had roughly 800, and the second book I think was around 650 to 700 quotes. So we have like almost 3,000 quotes from women from around the world through history, and people are fascinated and amazed by that.
Yeah, I can understand why. We have seen some monumental shifts for women in positions of power, haven't we, over the recent years? Who stands out, I guess, individually for either of you? Who stands out as somebody that you really notice?
Well, I'd have to say, I'll lead off there. I would have to say I believe her name is Jacinda, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. I think she's just done an outstanding job.
Jacinda Ardern?
Yes. So I couldn't remember her surname, but I think she's just done an outstanding job during the pandemic. And I would say probably and again, the name escapes right now, it's Nuria or something like that, who's the current CEO of Pepsi-Cola Company. She has really changed Pepsi into an organization that is more humane, more humanitarian focus, less profit focused maybe a little bit, but I think she's done an excellent job. She's been as CEO now for, I'd say, 10 or 12 years off the top of my head.
Yep, fantastic. What about you, Adriana? Who stands out for you?
I think Isabel Allende as a writer. I really admire her. Carolina Herrera is in the fashion world, but there are so many. I mean, of course, as a Mexican, in the first book, I started the first book with my favorite quote from Frida Kahlo, because I'm really a fan of Frida Kahlo, and the quote says, "Feed what do I need for you when I have wings to fly." So if we remember the life that Frida Kahlo had, very painful, she suffered a lot, she had the accident, so she was, a very sad life, but she just devoted her life to be passionate about the painting. So this is why I'm so fan of Frida Kahlo, because I think she was an amazing artist, and even with all the bad things happening in her life, he just dedicated her life to paint. So it was the passion that he had.
That's wonderful. Now, I'd love to know the genesis. Where did you guys connect and decide to create this wonderful book?
I was actually facilitating a 2-day workshop in Mexico City a few years ago, and Adriana was one of my students. And afterward, I stayed in Mexico City for a few days to play tourist, because I'd never been to this part of Mexico before. And we had a dinner together and found out we had a lot in commonality, and we just kept talking over the subsequent months. And then when the pandemic hit, we kind of connected on the phone and said, what should we do? How can we support each other during the pandemic? And by then she'd already left that organization. And so we came with this book idea, the trilogy idea. And so that's how we connected, and that's how we got into the writing process.
And the rest is history, they say.
I guess so.
And I'm still his student, because I'm really, learning a lot every day, a lot about Stephen. I mean, I talk about women supporting women, but I think these books possible with Stephen help. So he's been very supportive to me, and I love the way he thinks and the way he supported other women. So it's great to work with him. He's very passionate about writing, and he's very patient also. And, Mexico time, Mexico culture, Latin culture, that it's kind of different, but so thankful with his help and support.
Thank you.
Very lucky indeed. Now, I'd like to just, further that part of the conversation. You've really touched on mentorship. Now, in terms of up-and-coming women, how important do you think mentorship and having somebody to look to is going to be for them in the future?
I think it's so important because, especially women, sometimes we're afraid to, take risk or to take some new challenges. And I have to admit it, of course, when I left my last employee, I was afraid to take that big decision, because I'm a single mom, so it was not easy for me to take that decision. But when you have a coach, when you have somebody to support you, when you have somebody like Stephen, helping you and thinking about all the positive things that you can achieve for your dream. So it's always better, easier, and faster. And I mean, just so lovely and so grateful to have Stephen in my life.
Yeah, you made a good choice, that's for sure and certain. Now, I know that there's, Stephen, especially, that I have a special place in my heart for authors, because it is a process. It can be challenging. What are some of the challenges that you had co-authoring a book?
The biggest one is, and that's where Adriana mentioned the patience before. I tend to be I use a lot of words when I write. For instance, like in an introduction to a chapter, I would have written 300, 400 words. Adriana Adriana wanted to keep it down to like 60 to 80 words.
A paragraph?
Yeah, 2 paragraphs per person, sort of thing. And I didn't give in, but I had to realize she was right, because the success of her first 2 books that was the model she used. I think the first book she maybe did 3 or 4 paragraphs for the introductions, and then the second book she actually combined with the artist, and so the artist wrote a paragraph. The artist did illustrations for each categories, we call them, and Adriana then did a paragraph for each of the categories. And I realized how well that was working, so I had to change my writing style to match her writing style. So that from my standpoint, that was one of my biggest challenges. Even after publishing 22 books, I had to change my writing style.
Yes, flexibility and adaptability. What about you, Adriana? What have you learned from this process from Stephen? What sticks out for you?
No. So many things. I mean, to be disciplined, of course, to be persistent, to work on time, to work hard, to work during the weekends, at night, during the day, early morning.
Oh, goodness me, no. Yes. Now, in terms of the book, you talk about words have the power to inspire, motivate, and comfort. Love for you guys to share a little bit about what that actually means to you.
Actually,
power of words.
Yeah, I mean, actually, because a lot of people ask me who inspire you to in your life, and I think all women's inspired me. I mean, my mom, my girlfriends, my sister, all women inspired me to write this book. And also one of the most influential women in my life, I can say, that is Mother Teresa, because no matter what, she just devote, her life to help everybody, no matter what culture, color, religion. So yeah, exactly. I'm being inspired for her for sure. And yeah, all women. I really want to, with this book, change their, if I can, change their life, or at least motivate and inspire to achieve their dreams and goals.
Yeah. And you touched on COVID momentarily, and I'd love to talk about what are you seeing? What is your experience? How has COVID-19 affected women's mindset? And is it a restricting factor, or is there opportunities hidden within it?
I think the big challenge that talking with my friends, my girlfriends, and all different women's, it's been very difficult, because I think now more than ever we need to try to have the balance between personal and professional and family life. So we need to balance all that things at the same time. So it's a big challenge, but it is what it is, and we have to, with a good attitude and try to do our best. And if we need some help, it's okay to ask for help. So yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing. Now, there's a lot of inequality in the world for women in corporate life, private life, socially. What can you see happening in terms of equality in the future?
I think the issue's being raised, Rick. I mean, I think people are becoming more aware of it. One interesting thing, going back to your previous question, actually, is that at least in the United States, more women have lost their jobs as a result of the pandemic than males. I think it's like 2.5 million more, or something like that. It's a phenomenal number.
Not a small number, is it?
No, not at all. And it goes back to what Adriana was saying about, women, sometimes being the breadwinners or having to balance that home life and what have you, and during the pandemic. I think two things are happening out of the pandemic. One, from a corporate standpoint, leaders are learning that they need to be more empathetic. And of course, women tend to be more empathetic than men. And so us males can learn from women leaders. And that's something I learned in this process of co-writing this book with Adriana. That last word, when you talked about words can inspire and motivate and comfort, I never thought about words being comforting before. My male ego, my male mindset was all about motivation and inspiration and going out and achieving things, but with Adriana and with the quotes from the women, it really opened up my eyes that words can be comforting, and that's why we said that at the back of the book.
What I've noticed about you, Stephen, is that you're willing to learn and adapt and take on new ideas about what things mean for the opposite sex. I do too. I'm always open. My wife is always teaching me new things.
Good.
What is the thing that really stands out for you that males can take a hold of and run with to improve this situation?
I think in the corporate world particularly, this concept, I don't know how prevalent it is in Australia, but it's certainly in North America, it's what we call mansplaining. It's a woman says something in a meeting,
Yep.
and the man says, well, this is what she means. Well, we listen. If we would listen, we would know what she meant. So I think that sort of thing. And the second thing is, I think men need to, we need to be better listeners. We all know that. But I think particularly in the corporate life, we need to make sure we're allowing the women a chance to speak. They tend to be slower. And, again, this is stereotypical. I realize it, and I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, but in general, women tend to hold back in meetings. There's a lot of research even right now that women working from home hold back and don't input, don't interject as much as men do on Zoom calls, for instance. So I think men need to be more proactive in calling on women and saying, Adriana, what do you think about this? Or, Sue, what do you think about this? And I think that's what men can learn from, I think that's what men need to learn. Let's put it that way.
Well, for all the men that are listening to the show today, we've got 2 ears. That means we can listen twice as much. Now, I'd love to talk a little bit about your thoughts on this, Adriana, in terms of what is likely to be your, look on this as you promote the book. What are you going to talk about when you share the book?
I talk a lot about my own experience. I talk how, when we have good times, difficult times, we have times that we need to take hard decision, but never is too late to change our life, to start a new project, to start a new life, to start a new family. So I like to talk about all these things. So, because sometimes, I'm in my 40s, 45, and a lot of people ask me like, wow, you just left the corporate way, the corporate world, and you start your books and you start doing a new projects. How do you feel? And I feel great. Why? Because I'm in my 40s, I can start, a new project. So this is important, that the women that never feel that it's too late to start something new. So I really, my speech or when I talk, I try to talk a lot about that.
That's powerful insight. Thank you very much for sharing. Now, I love the fact that we're in different locations. We're seeing different perspectives on the same topic. It's very important, without a doubt. Now, I wonder, in terms of writing the book itself, how did you go about gathering all the content?
Hours and hours of research.
So did you get to speak to individual women as well?
No.
No.
No, all the quotes that are in the 3 books, all the quotes are different. It's quotes that I've been just collecting for so many years, and actually they inspired to me. So the thing that I did, or what we did together, Stephen and I, is just put some categories, write about the categories, and in each book I talk about my personal feeling, all my personal thoughts about each category, and then I start collecting all the quotes. So just been collecting for so many years, doing some research and just putting all that together.
So the timeline, was it about 12 months that it took to write the book?
Yeah,
all 3 books. All 3 books.
All 3 books. So this one, let's assume that it's a third of that. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's not very long, is it?
That's what she keeps reminding me.
And that's funny, because a lot of people ask me like, okay, when is coming the 4th one? And I say like, no, I need vacation really now.
You absolutely need a break. Like I said at the start of the call, we all need to have some downtime. Don't forget that. Now, have you had some response from readers of the book so far?
Oh yeah.
And what have they said to you?
that they really reading this book is really motivated and inspired women to, to do something different, to try something different. I'm in contact with two different group of Latin women that they live in Canada, and I'm been just talking with them. We'll make a writing course with some of them. Some people in Argentina is inviting me to some of the programs. So yeah, I mean, the book is just the result of these 3 books. They're amazing. I'm so happy. I think, it's the typical book that you can just easily read anytime, anywhere. So that, that's good for the people that they don't read very often. So happy with the results of these 3 books.
Yeah,
is it? Go ahead.
Sorry, Rick. I was going to say the other thing we have uncovered, which is really fascinating as an author, is that there is a huge need for Spanish language books. Now, we've translated the first book in Spanish, and we will now be in the process of translating the second and third book in Spanish over the next probably 3 to 4 months. But it's amazing just how many people in Latin America is just a huge market, which I think many authors don't even think about, and just don't think about that Hispanic Latin America market outside, parts of the big cities in the United States. So there's a huge opportunity here. Yeah, that's one thing that's been very revealing.
And that's one of the things I was thinking about, Stephen, is the ability to reach that international audience. Because is it difficult to get a book like this translated into different languages?
It's
not the process.
Not too difficult. It's expensive. You got to find the right person, quite frankly, and it's kind of like English also, don't forget. I mean, there's variations of Spanish around the world, and just like, there's Australian English and American English and British English. And
British English.
I guess I should never call it British English. It's only English.
It's just English.
But,
to be correct.
I am an American, so I do call it that. But it's a tedious process because they have to do it. And then Adriana, of course, Spanish is her native language, so she needs to review it and proof it. And then I have to take it and produce it in Spanish. I'm learning Spanish, but I'm not by any means eloquent in it. So
fluent.
I've got fluent at all. So I got to have her double check everything I do and make sure the accent marks are in the right place and what have you. But so that's one thing. The other interesting thing just crossed my mind to think about it. Now the third book, you talk about the international audience. Well, in the front of the book, when we have the endorsers, we always have what we call beta readers, and we get people to read the book in advance and give some. We've got a woman from Finland. Iceland, a woman from Iceland, a woman from Sweden, a lady in the UK, a male endorser from Mexico. So we've got endorsers from around the world for the third book. Then I think the first 2 books we also had quite a global endorser community, if you will. So the book really has international appeal.
That international flavour in it. So the timing could not be better. That's for sure and certain. Now, Stephen, to you, do you have plans to continue writing books, given how prolific you are?
If Adriana will give me a break, and I think she will, I'm going to start my next book in early April, and I hope to have it out by September. So yes, I got my idea, my concept for my next book, and so I'll take April, May, June, and July. I'll take about 4 months to write it and edit it, and the month of August to produce it, and hopefully I'll launch it in mid-September.
Well, we look forward to that. That's for certain. Now, Adriana, you mentioned that you wanted to break. Surely you're going to pick up the pen.
Yes. I'll just have, 2 weeks break. I mean, we'll have the spring break soon in the next few weeks. So yeah, I want to take a break, and then I have another new project regarding to this book. Like I mentioned, some writing a course, also some radio show for Argentina that they want me to be in the radio show every week, talking about inspirational things for women. So yeah, that's great. I mean, and everything is regarding to these 3 books, and so the results of these 3 books, and that's great.
I'd love to just ask you quickly where people can find this book. Can you get it in Kindle? Do you have an audio book? What's the formats that people can get access to it?
Yeah, actually it's in print and in Kindle and Amazon.com already. So you can find the 3 books in Amazon.com. And here in Mexico, we have another bookstores and libraries, and the rest of Latin America too. But in Amazon.com, a Kindle version and print.
That's fantastic. You guys have just changed spot on the video. That was really interesting how that just happened.
I lost internet connection.
We've got you, Steve. We've got you. Well, look, Adriana, Stephen, I've just had such a wonderful time. Now, for everybody who's on the call with us today, if you're looking for these books, this trilogy of books, you will find them below the post. No matter where you find this interview, you will find this wonderful book, Strong Women Speak on Leadership, Success and Living Well. And with all that being said, thank you so much for joining us on the My Future Business show today.
Our pleasure, Rick. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.